that's a completely irrational fear you have. Story 1. Every time I hear a plane or helicopter flying over, I think this is ID, and the louder it gets the closer it is to smashing into my house and taking out the entire street. Every time, every day night at the same time for 10 years LMAO, I never learn. Story 2. Growing up, I had a fear of popcorn ceilings. I feared one of the pieces would fall into my eyeball. I had this fear for over a decade. Then, the last night I was in my childhood home, we had sold it and were closing on it, it happened. Right into eyeball. Story 3. That someday I'll be asked to participate in a trust exercise in which someone closes the door on me while I'm inside an industrial washing machine and then starts the cycle. Story 4. I read somewhere that many highway head-on car crashes are suicides disguised as accidents. Sometimes I'm driving down the highway and see a car approaching and think, what if they pick me? Then the next car, then the next. Story 5. I fear that the garbage disposal will turn on when I place my hand to make sure there isn't anything other than food scraps in the drains. I always use a spoon first to make sure it doesn't just magically turn on. Not irrational, but I always stomp on the fingers of work gloves and dish gloves before putting my hand in. This also goes for shoes that have been outside or just haven't been worn in a while. I grew up in an area with black widow and brown recluse. Story 6. Lobsters, spider crabs, coconut crabs and camel crickets, too many legs, too long antennae, big sharp big ow. Big bug. Hate big bug. I hate them. They should be little and crunchy, not big and juicy with big ow hands that can bite your toes off. Bugs shouldn't be that big. I know crabs and lobsters aren't bugs, but these things look close enough to camel crickets that they're bugs, and I hate them, 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 hate them. I almost had a panic attack at the Gatlinburg Zoo when I saw the sheer size of the spider crabs and how they were just staring at me like they wanted to kill me, and they could have if they were allowed to roam free, and I hate them, hate them, hate them. Story 7. Those black and white, shifty-eyed, smiling cat clocks have always freaked me the out. Aquariums, especially being in those underwater tunnels. I have a fear that it's going to explode while I'm walking under it. I've been to the aquarium twice in my life and never again. Story 8. The heffalumps and woozles bit from the Winnie the Pooh movie. That whole scene was just so deeply unsettling and scared me so bad when I was a little kid. That's like a fear core memory. I'm in my late 20s and am still terrified of the heffalumps and woozles. Literally fast-forwarded that scene when I showed that movie to my toddler last week. Nope, nope, nope. There's some trippy bits of Fantasia that also still unsettle me. Story 9. That one day, there will be a shark in a pool I choose to swim in. Literally impossible, but it stems from a nightmare I had when I was really young. Story 10. Loving someone only to lose them in of the most horrific ways possible. It's easier to just not fall in love. Eat at holy the responses. Thank you all for sharing. To clarify, I lost my father and 2 friends to suicide, and I lost my mom, and a family friend of ours died to cancer. I have also lost a friend to a vehicular accident, not caused by her own doing. By no means do I equate those to equally horrific, as each has their own levels of up. I love my friends, and I have friends still in the military, and I have a very dear friend who is a police officer. I consider him and his family a part of my family. Would I be upset by their loss? Yes, but as I have served 5 years in the army, I know those kinds of eels have their own risks. The reason I consider it irrational is that it's to the extent I don't really invest in a relationship as a whole. To the extent of horrific, it's just a general sense of horrible compared to a more natural death like that of age. Story 11. I can stand on a high place until the end of time, but the second I look down, petrified, I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling from somewhere high up. Story 12. Moths. I swear to you, one jump scared me as a kid on my uncle's porch when we were leaving his house, and ever since they freak me TF out. I'm getting better though. Instead of waking my family with horrified whispers at night when I inevitably see one, recently I managed to catch one in a glass chute outside, without the 45 minutes of dread panic of having to kill it. Edit. I have never felt more validated in my life with these replies. Story 13. Ice on the ground. I will cross the street to avoid a tiny patch of ice, and one time asked a stranger to hold my hand to get past a small patch of ice. I hyperventilate when I see ice. Story 14. That one day while driving, someone will discard their cigarette but in the lane next to me, and it will land on my car and cause my gas tank to catch on fire, and then my whole car will catch on fire and I'll die. Story 15. I am afraid of clowns. It started when my mom hired a clown for my 7th birthday party. I know it is an irrational fear, but there is just something terrifying about the crazy hair, the makeup, the baggy pants, the taste of the penis, and the oversized shoes. Story 16. Submarines. Being hundreds of meters under the sea, surrounded by water that wants nothing more than to come crashing in and kill me. No thanks. Plus, there's no hope of rescue. A submarine goes down. It usually goes down with all hands. Story 17. Going down on an escalator. When I was a kid, I would be paranoid I would trip and my hair would get stuck in it and I would get scalped alive before anyone could help me. Story 18. When I have to have a background check done, I always assume they will find some felony I committed that I somehow have forgotten. A buddy worked in schools. I literally have a clean slate. Why I think this. Story 19. My own basement, which has no windows doors to outside my house in the dark, like specifically that someone could be camping out living down there waiting to get me. Story 20. That if I sleep with my feet sticking out of the blanket, something is going to grab them and drag me under the bed. I'm only safe if feet are properly tucked in and covered, obviously. Story 21. While dealing with panic disorder, I believe that if I go across the bridge in my city into that next town over, I'll not be able to make it back, as I'll have an episode and it'll overcome me, and I won't be able to operate my vehicle properly. Agoraphobia at its finest. Story 22. Being stuck in traffic under a bridge. What if it collapses suddenly? Or being the first car at the railroad crossing when the train is passing. What if it jumps the tracks? Story 23. I am terrified that one day I will wake up and have severe schizophrenia. I have it, and sometimes I will be terrified that my heart will stop in my sleep so much so that I will lose sleep over it. Story 24. Pancreatic cancer or brain cancer, or any cancer that has no symptoms until it's too late. I don't have a family history of cancer other than farmers in the family who refuse to wear sunscreen. I'm not at risk, but dang if I'm constantly worried about it. Story 25. Ticks and getting Lyme disease. Having a full-on mental breakdown, never coming back from it, and having to be in a hospital for the rest of my life, being in a coma for the rest of my life, any life-altering and/or deforming injury or illness. Story 26. I'm a 6-foot-tall female, and I'm scared to death of little people in person, can watch them on TV, but if I cross paths with one I hyperventilate and will start crying. Story 27. I worry that the English language will run out of puns, like punergy is a finite resource, and so whenever a really good one gets used, it leaves less for the future, and one day the last pun will be made, and everything said in English from that point on will have to be literal. I get extra nervous when I come across a really good one in the wild. Story 28. Beeswax hornets. They don't bother you unless you provoke them, said in the mocking, under the influence Kristen Wiig airplane voice from Bridesmaids Bull. Literally everyone I know who has ever been stung was minding their own business. My own daughter was quietly drawing with chalk and stung out of nowhere. Kill them all. But their world's food supply would collapse. Meh, heights. I was born with this awful phobia of heights. It's so bad that I can stand on anything above 3 feet without getting nervous. And it caused me to be afraid of the escalators as well. It's just plain annoying and awful, but I can't even fix it. Though I do have to say I'm a little better now than when I was little, like I can get on little roller coasters or some of the ride that go a little higher off the ground, just no big coasters. Story 29. I have several. There is only one I feel a need to convince people is actually rational though. Chimps, not monkeys or gorillas or other apes. And I'm smart to fear them. Have you seen chimps go to war? They literally beat each other with sticks and rocks and tear each other apart. Literally tear each other apart. Have you seen their teeth? Those teeth are for ripping and tearing flesh. They chased our prehistoric ancestors out of the trees, onto the dangerous ground. Also, they have an evolving culture. They disperse information between friendly groups. Right now, they are in their stone age, are going to unalive every human. They're just waiting for their moment, being called for jury duty. I live in constant fear. Checking the mail is a nightmare. Story 30. Jellyfish. I don't even live near water. It also doesn't matter if it's the harmless moon jelly or something like the manowar. Whenever I'm on vacation at the beach and I spot a single jelly, I am not getting into that water again. Story 31. I am terrified of tuna fish. I cannot explain it. It's irrational. My dad knew I had a mild dislike of it, and he decided to torture me with it, trying to get me over it. It just sort of made it all worse. I can't be in a space with it. I struggle to discuss it. I just get overwhelmed and need to leave the building. My family hates me for it. They want to eat it and I don't allow it in the house. I am 38. It's been like this since I was like 6. Story 32. Hotel rooms and cheap motel rooms. After I watch too much true crime, I always wonder if someone got raped or murdered on the same bed I'm sleeping on, or if someone committed suicide in the room, or if the bed or room is infested with bedbugs, or if the room is bugged and I don't know it. I just can't trust a bedroom that isn't mine. Story 33. My biggest irrational fear is mascots. Really any suit, sadly, including fleas, even though they look extremely cool in their suits. I've had this fear forever. I was in Queensland going on the monorail for the first time. I was about 3 to 4 and Elmo and Cookie Monster came out. I had the worst panic attack of my life, so I hid under the table and was clawing into my dad's leg. LMAO. Story 34. Mannequins. Too humanoid, and why the do they have to be life-sized? I walk by them and I instantly get chills and goosebumps. Yes, I know there's a Doctor Who episode on this concept. No, I did not develop the fear from said episode. Story 35. When driving on the California freeways I freak out if someone changes a lane next to me towards my car. My fear of getting sideswiped is nuts. I am so paranoid that I avoid being in anyone's blind spot constantly, and Lord help me if my fiancé is driving. Story 36. Spiders. Why have none of you mentioned spiders? Dead, alive, doesn't matter. They give me the heebie-jeebies and I can't cope, full panic and unable to solve the situation on my own. Once I had to leave my apartment after I accidentally killed one. I could not be in the same apartment as that, so I had to wait to return until someone could remove it for me. I am from, and live where spiders are not dangerous and will do absolutely no harm. Story 37. Needles. It doesn't hurt. It's not about it hurting or what's going into my body. It's the needle itself. I can't even watch medical shows. I've had teeth filled without anesthesia. I like the idea of a tattoo but will never get one. Story 38. Daddy long legs. Also known as cellar spiders. I know they are harmless, but there is something about their architecture that totally freaks me out and always has. Story 39. My house catching fire at night while sleeping, with my kids sleeping on the other side of the house. Keeps me awake for hours sometimes, getting up and out of bed multiple times just to check and be sure. Story 40. Sinkholes. I used to be so paranoid I'd only walk the perimeter of my home. Therapist said it was a way to focus my anxiety, and now I'm generally okay. Couldn't drive without a panic attack, but sometimes I still think about them and how scary they are. Story 41. That my tongue is somehow going to get caught in the blades of my blender. I can't explain why or how this started, but the thought crosses my mind every time I blend something. Story 42. Walking on bridges where there's a gap between the footpath and the fence railing. I get scared that either everything will fall out of my pockets or someone will pull me over the side through the gap. Story 43. Someone lying in wait behind my seat on the car, my shower curtain or closet, or round the corner in a different room, just stealthily waiting to catch me quickly off guard. Not a constant phobia but a regular force of habit now to always check, day or night, back of my vehicle. When I unlock my door I check behind it and clear each room including behind large furnishings, very quietly to remain alert and aware, until I'm sure all is clear. Even with guests' family accompanying me inside, though I try to be inconspicuous about it lol. Story 44. That one day I'm going to end up stepping on a grate that's not going to hold up under my feet, seeing too many horror stories I guess. Also how to get to Bell's Canyon, that has haunted me ever since I heard McBallen talk about it. Story 45. Cameras. Not like oh I'm camera shy please don't take my picture, like there's cameras even. Air vents, the shower drain, any unsuspecting corner when I go somewhere I'm not familiar with. I used to have to put my younger sister's step stool over the floor vent in the bathroom so the camera wouldn't watch me pee. I'm still nervous about my shower drain and I've lived here for years. My only comfort is knowing that all the hair I've shed is probably blocking any camera's view anyway. Story 46. I'm very scared of space. Sometimes I will look up at the sky and I think wow we really do live on a planet, in space, and then I feel like gravity is going to stop working for only me and I'm going to fall into space. Story 47. Driving behind a log lorry. Of all the Final Destination scenarios, this is the one that stuck. I will always overtake ASAP or hang well back if I can't. Story 48. I'm not overly large by any means, but I have an irrational fear of a ceramic toilet cracking as I'm sitting on it, slicing me up as it crumbles and causing me to bleed out. Story 49. That I will die before my kids are old enough to remember me. Why no clue. I dated a guy once whose wife died before their son was a year. Maybe that has something to do with it. Whatever the reason, it's paralyzing and I have no idea where it came from. Story 50. So it was irrational until a week ago, but my husband and I drive a lot as there's nothing to do really, so our date night is driving around literally, and so but we would joke around about like I wonder how many people like went blind from driving on a dirt road and a rock came through while passing another car, like probably nobody, right? We're driving not even a half a week ago, maybe a week ago we're driving, and this black truck going 50 miles an hour passes by and a rock flies through my driver side, not even the windshield, through my driver side window, bashes off of the windshield and hits me in my eyebrow. So long story short, don't let your irrational fears become rational, because I don't know what to do now when I go on a dirt road drive with my window down up, scary as I will say. Story 51. Ceiling fans in motion. I didn't realize the fear came from somewhere till I mentioned to my mom in my late teens. Apparently one almost fell on me when I was little, still zero memory of that incident, but he'll never sit under one, and you can quote me on that. Story 52. Sporadic fatal insomnia. I stumbled upon this YT documentary about a family that stopped sleeping and died months later. Found out not only is it familial, but it also can happen to people sporadically. Less than 50 people have been diagnosed with it though. Story 53. I work in medicine. It's the fear of getting some of the things I see. Even just getting older BC, I see more unhealthy elderly people than the healthy ones. All of it just started scaring me as I get older and have more burden on me BC due to being a man with a family. Story 54. Sneezing and having a brain aneurysm. Rare but it's happened. Also blowing my nose and then walking around with snot on my face while no one tells me. Story 55. Snakes slithering out of the toilets. There is one friend of mine. Whenever I make fun of her she sends me those reels where snakes comes out of toilets, and since then it has become biggest fear of mine. Story 56. Microwave, ovens, air fryers, toasters. I use them, but when they are turned on I run as far as I can and wait for it to finish because I have an irrational fear that it'll explode, especially the oven, which is very funny because I love to bake but am so terrified of that the oven will explode. When ovens explode it can take down blocks. Even if I duck behind a wall, I won't be safe. Story 57. That if my family isn't all in one spot, they aren't safe. Especially during inclement weather, like my presence can somehow prevent danger, even though I know it's insanely silly, plagues me a lot. Story 58. I can't wear earbuds unless my back is against the wall, and am facing the entrance of the room because I'm afraid someone will sneak up on me and attack and I won't hear them coming. Story 59. 1. I never outgrew my fear of the dark. It's really embarrassing but I still like the lights on at night. It's concerning at this point. I'm way too old for it. 2. I always risk falling down the stairs and always take 5 extra minutes getting downstairs if the ladder has been left down, because I don't want to walk under a ladder so I find a way to avoid it. 3. I used to be terrified of anime. Story 60. Anything medical. Was always afraid of doctors and dentists, but it has grown worse as I get older, and especially needles. You'll watch a herd of zombies tear a person apart, but show someone getting a needle and I pass out. Story 61. I have trypophobia. Not the kind where there's a disgusting amount of holes in something. Everyone disliked those first images that pop up when you Google the phobia. No, I fear a certain pattern in somewhat regular objects. Sometimes I can look at a dining chair that has dot-like features and it makes me uncomfortable. I hate this because I know it's stupid. Story 62. I know this is daft, but someone once told me that when you die your family is going to be waiting for you on the other side, but I don't want to meet my flipping family cause I didn't like them, so I'm scared stiff they will be waiting for me with scowling faces. I've agreed with my best friend that I can go to her lovely dad and see my cats. I know it's daft. Story 63. My hubby used to take me night fishing. Apparently, fish love to congregate near bridge piers in the water, so it is nighttime. And I'm looking at the underbelly of the bridge wondering, if it collapsed, would I be crushed instantly, or would I die drowning slowly in the mud? When the occasional car drives overhead, it's a weird chonk, until it fades away. Story 64. Germs. Ever since COVID I'm overly fixated on my hands being clean. I wash my hands obsessively now. If I even just touch my own hair I need to wash my hands. I wipe down my phone when I get home at the end of the day. I wipe down taps and faucets. Anything I'm putting in the fridge gets wiped down first. Anything I bring inside my home gets wiped down or I leave in the area for outside things. If I hold on to somewhere on the bus or train I need to wash my hands later. Story 65. Every time I flush the toilet at night, I sprint out of the bathroom like something's gonna grab me from the shower curtain or the drain. I'm a grown adult but apparently so is my fear. Story 66. I have some from when I was a kid. I thought the Titanic was gonna come up out of the bathtub drain. And I'd look out the windows and see the dark clouds and thought it was a tidal wave. I was scared BC I couldn't swim. I had to wash raw egg off my hands immediately or I'd get warts on my fingers. Story 67. Being possessed by a demon. I have had this fear as long as I can remember and people always think I'm nuts when I say it's my greatest irrational fear. Also I'm not even religious and didn't grow up like that either so I have no idea where this fear came from. Story 68. You mean a phobia? I have a weird one. I have cosmemophobia. Specifically I have a phobia of earrings and piercings. I can't stand touching one, it makes me feel sick and dirty, have to wash my hands if I accidentally touch one even if I pick it up with a napkin. Watching people touch their own earrings and piercings also really make me feel grossed out. Story 69. Anything I happen to be mixing resulting in something exploding. It could happen if I was super absent-minded, but my paranoia's kept me safe thus far. Story 70. Hiccups. So whenever I get hiccups, they actually caused me pain and I forgot where I read it, but man had them for literally decades and my irrational fear is one day you'll get them and they won't stop for years if not the rest of my life. Story 71. Antique stores. I'm so creeped out by them. I don't want to touch anything, buy anything, bring anything home. I honestly can say that if I close my eyes for even a few seconds in there, I hear the items whispering to me and am terrified. I literally see a black cloud or dark gray mass surrounding every antique store I pass, even the friendly looking ones. Horrifying. Story 72. Being thirsty. I can't sleep without a bottle of water next to me. I get really scared if I run out of water, and anytime I go anywhere I need to make sure I have a drink. Story 73. I fear crustaceans. They look like sea spiders to me and who knows what they're doing down there. I do still love seafood. Probably because I know they are dead and gone ill.